Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you about Advanced Warfare, a little bit more of the wish list sort of thing. I know I already made one, but it occurred to me the other day, I was sitting there thinking about it, what I would really like to see from this game, and the number one thing that I want to see from Advanced Warfare, more than anything else than that game could possibly have to offer, is good spawns. Good spawns would be amazing. I'm gonna get killed here in the beginning by this guy with the, that's the tracker sight, and you can kind of snake prone and crawl with it at the same time. Was not expecting that. Got a headshot on me, so I think that was a two-shot kill too. Very, very brutal, but I'm going to end up doing really well this gameplay, even though my team gets pinned down really hard in the beginning, and you're going to get to see some really crazy ghost spawns during some segments. Not all game long, but there's going to be some very questionable spawns coming up in this game, especially at about the 2 or 3 minute mark. I think it's really going to kick off when we flop back and fight over A flag for a long time. But that's not something that I really want to see in my Call of Duty games. That's not something that I particularly enjoy. I feel like it breaks the experience just as much, if not more, than quickscoping or a lot of the other silly things that we put up with in Call of Duty games. One of them that we've taken pretty hard in the last 2 games is spawns. I don't feel like the last 2 games have had really good spawns. They really haven't. Ghost has been notorious for it. Black Ops 2 was pretty rough at launch, if you don't remember. They had to patch it a couple times. But I think that the quality of Advanced Warfare, how people would perceive it in the multiplayer community, how well it would be reviewed, how well it would be played, the degree of complaining that the pros would have. The pros, by their nature, complain about everything, but there would be less complaining if it had good spawns. I think all of that would go way down or move in a positive direction if the spawns were very, very good. I think that would just be amazing for the game. That would make me so happy. And the question then becomes, well, how would you define a good spawn? What makes a good spawn? And that's something that's kind of hard to do, because we as beings, we have a tendency only to notice when things are going wrong instead of when they're going right. So even my list of definitions of a good spawn is kind of a negative one. I put down 5 things that I think make a spawn good. Number 1 is that nobody is looking at you. When I spawn in, I don't have somebody looking at my back. I don't have somebody aiming down sights on the location. I don't spawn into a hell of bullets. I don't just pop up and people see me. If people see me spawn, that means the system's not working. Number 2 is that I'm not looking at somebody else. When they pop in, I don't really feel rewarded for shooting people as soon as they spawn, and I feel even worse, like if somebody kills me and then I spawn behind them, I get sort of like this revenge spawn kill. Very, very poor. Also, not on top of a grenade or an explosive or near a dog or an IMS or anything like that. Yeah, IEDs are a pretty big one in this game. It doesn't happen too often, but occasionally I'll spawn within walking distance of an IED, take a couple of steps and get popped, or I'll spawn and a grenade rolls in on me. That's kind of difficult because you've got to figure on the angle of the grenade coming and some other stuff, but that'd be very bad. I would say not within 5 seconds of reaching an enemy, and I know Call of Duty is designed to be this very fast-paced game where you get back into action really, really fast, but if you can kill me and I can come back to you in less time than it takes for you to capture an objective, that's probably not going to make for very good play. You gotta put people kind of far back, give them the opportunity to be tactical in a tactical game. And lastly, in a reasonable location, and that's kind of a difficult thing to do, and I'll explain why later. But say, you know, if we're holding 2 flags and they have the alpha flag, you would expect them to spawn at flag A, alpha, somewhere in that neighborhood, unless of course we push in on it, then it would have flopped to the other side, or do something predictable like that. Some sort of reasonable logic that people can kind of understand the flow to the map and not just kind of have them pop up at random, which, if you don't remember, I think it was World at War for a while, especially at launch, used the random spawn system. It was just so random, World at War at launch. It didn't matter what team you were on, what the objectives were. It was just kind of like lottery, and it worked. I guess it would be like 50-50. Sometimes it worked great, sometimes it didn't. But again, I think that having a good spawn system or having an improved spawn system wouldn't be that too hard to beat, because the last 2 Call of Duty games have not had good spawns. We're going to talk about the reasons why the spawns weren't good, at least in my humble opinion. I know people that disagree with me. I know people that think that both Ghost and Black Ops have good spawns. I don't agree with them at all. We argue about things. But let's start with Black Ops. Black Ops 2 is, what is the word, glorified these days as the best shooter, best Call of Duty, best thing ever. I don't think that's true, but I do think it's a good Call of Duty, generally speaking. But the spawns on launch were very, very rough. They were pretty bad when it launched. I think it got a patch about 1 month, 2, maybe 3 into the process that fixed a lot of these up. It helped it. It didn't fix it, but it did help a lot, and the spawns got much more reasonable. That's why people, one of the reasons they like playing the game. But some of the problems that Black Ops 2 had is that you could suicide by jumping off of the map on hijacked, or raid or kill yourself in funny kind of ways, and this was on domination and hardpoint. You can actually flip your spawns and spawn near their objective nearly instantly. You can also do this in Black Ops 2 on the map. I think it was Radiation. It's the one with the big gate that you open and close in the middle of the map. You could do that. You could kill yourself and you'd spawn on their spawn and C4 them. It was pretty crazy, but it was doable. It's kind of an old legacy problem. In Black Ops 2, there was some of the spawning on top of grenades, into bullets, into dangerous places, with people looking at you. Especially at launch, it was really bad with me popping up in front of people and dying. But again, it got better over time. It did have this kind of anchor spawn system. It was more about your geometric where you held the map, like this map control, instead of the threat system, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think this game runs on the threat system that we'll talk about in a little bit. But ghost spawns, oh my god, ghost spawns are brutal. Brutal's definitely the word. They were extremely brutal on launch, and they've gotten better now, but I'm still not going to classify them as good. That's probably been my prevailing criticism of this game, is how rough the spawns are. Every time I spawn, I have a tendency to spin around and make sure I'm safe. Or when I kill somebody, the first instinct that I have after killing somebody is that I should double back and make sure they're not behind me. And this is not a gameplay mechanic that people need to enjoy. I just picked up this SVU, and it's got a goofy sight on it where I can't really see what I'm shooting at, and I feel like an idiot. So I'm going to have some really terrible SVU gameplay. I'm going to go back to the assault rifle in a little bit. The positions in Call of Duty Ghosts largely make sense. It does a similar thing to Black Ops 2 in the objective game modes. Like you spawn next to the objectives you control, like you would, like where they would expect you to spawn with domination and blitz and all that. But the problem is the safe zones are all wrong. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been knife spawned, how many times people have popped up in front of me for me to kill, how many times I've spawned close to a dog, how many times I spawned in the middle of a firefight. There's just tons and tons of spawning in front of people and close to people, such to the point where I expect it. Not very good gameplay you get from that, and that's unfortunate. And it also happens a lot more online in public matches than it ever does anything else. When I play competitive Call of Duty with people that kind of understand the system better and play differently, or when I go and I play in a LAN event with YouTubers or friends or other people that play maybe not like pros, but they play pretty hard, they know what's going on. That doesn't happen as often. It happens a little bit, but when you get into public matches and you get these crazy people spawn flipping and doing unpredictable things, it all goes to pot really, really fast. And there are some reasons for that, both with the developers and with the general community and how we play. I wanted to talk about those two in the spawns, kind of give a general overview of spawns. I was gonna say that's a quick scope to the face. That was a lucky he ran around the corner and I sniped him to the face. I don't quick scope. That's just not my thing. Some of the reasons that spawns have been bad in the last two games. Number one is that whatever algorithm we've got going on that's choosing the spawns, whether it's geometry-based, area control-based, threat-based. Threat-based is a complicated one. It kind of evaluates threats and how fast threats can get there, and what people... Like, a player is a threat, and if it's looking in a direction, you're not supposed to spawn there. If a helicopter is looking at you, but each piece of equipment, each grenade, each IED, sentry gun, another thing is a threat, and it's evaluated... numerically, and it's got a weight, and it's kind of complicated. I'm not going to lie and say that I fully understand it, because I don't, but I have a gist of how it works. But whatever system is making these decisions clearly isn't working good enough for the general player, because I know that I'm not a general player. I would be like an advanced sort of player. I go harder or whatever, but even the casual Joe, even frat bro Dave, which is like the core casual audience, they understand that the spawns are bad, and it's frustrating for them. Another problem is that there are less of these casual players. There's less frat bro Dave. There's less 12-year-old Timmy that's never played Call of Duty before. The player base is getting increasingly sophisticated. I guess I contribute to this problem in a way, so do other people. The Black Ops 2 Pro season contributed to this a lot. People watching competitive players play and manipulate spawns, and I use manipulate not in a bad way, but they just understood how important it was to control spawns in this game so that you could kind of control the map. I mean, they really mastered that, and a little bit less so in Ghosts. But this also led to the casual player base understanding much, much more about spawns, which led to them playing differently, harder, doing different things, and they become more aware of bad spawns happening, and their playstyles change so it actually can cause them to create more bad spawns. So the player-based sophistication has definitely changed, and awareness is a big one too. Before there was, that is like, oh, bad spawns weren't such a big deal, but now they notice them much more. There is also this concept of revenge spawns, which I absolutely hate. They were very prevalent in Modern Warfare 3, but they did show up a little bit in this game, and I think Black Ops, I don't know if Black Ops ops use them or not, but the concept was that if somebody kills you, it's going to respawn you within a certain geographic area of them on this map so that you have the opportunity to get revenge, thus being a revenge spawn. And the concept is, this guy kills you, you can respawn, you can get him back if you're good enough, you can get there fast enough, but with that player-based sophistication increasing, this becomes increasingly easy to do. So you see players like me, like I was talking about earlier, I'll backtrack because I know that somebody's coming to get me. It also causes the spawns to get closer together and more clustery and dangerous. I really don't like it. I personally do not think that was a good decision. It's something that I was pretty strongly against, but again, I don't have all the data. I just don't know 100%. I just don't really like it. Another one is that the equipment is increasing. We have more equipment now, more kill streaks, and more things going on the map than any Call of Duty games previously. If you go back to something like COD 4 or even MW2, which could get really busy, it wasn't this busy. There wasn't that much equipment. Now we have tons and tons. We have trophy systems, we have a couple of different types of explosives, we have a couple of different types of grenades. The guard dogs follow you around in Call of Duty Ghosts, kill streaks are everywhere, and if the game is using a threat system, even if it's using a sort of geometry anchoring thing, it does have to take into consideration these threats that are on the map and what direction they're looking at. And the more of these things that you create, in addition to the 12 players that are already running around, the safe zones and the safe spawns get narrower and narrower and narrower and thinner and thinner and thinner, and you get less opportunities to pop in. One interesting solution that we had to this, and there's also the fact that people have to get back in fast. Like you can't just wait on a good spawn. This is Call of Duty. Call of Duty, you play now. You play now. I don't care if it's a bad spawn. Let me in now, coach. J-Hub had this interesting idea to give players the option to take the first spawn or to wait and take the best spawn, which would get them back into the action slower, but it would give them a safer, better sort of spawn location. And it's something that, as a player, I think I would like. I think I would, in most cases, like to wait the extra couple of seconds to take the best spawn instead of taking the first available one. But then in some other game modes, if you could kind of capture a flag and then make it so that the good spawns or the fast spawns weren't as available and there were just a handful of safe ones, you would delay the other team spawning and control the map. So it's a complicated issue, but back to what I said at the beginning, a good spawn system, a good functioning working spawn system without me spawning on grenades and getting shot in my face would be amazing, and that would make Advanced Warfare much, much better than anything else that you could do with it. I hope you enjoyed the commentary. I hope you learned something interesting. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.